Good morning and welcome to the virtual meeting of the Chief Officers Employment Panel of Allerdale Borough Council. My name is Lee Jardine and I'm the Democratic Services Officer, and for the purpose of this meeting, I am also the host. I will be assisting the committee with the use of technology to manage the process of the meeting. I will not have any control over the meeting and the meeting will not begin until instructed by the chair. The meeting is currently being live streamed on the Council's YouTube site, and recording will be made afterwards. Everyone who's indicated they are attending the meeting has now joined and the meeting is now locked. Shortly, I'll hand you over to the chair, but first, introductions. Can I ask the attendees to introduce themselves, starting with the members? Councillor Coburn.
Good morning, Councillor Nikki Coburn.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Marion Fitzgerald. I'm an executive member with a portfolio including governance, policy and people's resources.
Councillor Johnson.
Good morning, Councillor Mike Johnson, Deputy Leader of the Council.
Councillor Kemp. You may have been on mute, Councillor Kemp. No, he's still on mute. That's it. We're still having some problems. It's okay. That's Councillor Kemp there. We're having some technical problems. We'll move on to Councillor Smith.
Good morning, Councillor Alan Smith speaking. Attending the meeting, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the officers. Lindsay Tomlinson.
Good morning, Lindsay Tomlinson, Deputy Monitoring Officer.
Thank you. Catherine Nicholson.
Good morning, Catherine Nicholson, Head of Financial Services and Section 151 Officer.
Catherine Higgins.
Good morning, Catherine Higgins, HR Business Partner.
Thanks for your introduction. So to speak, please can members use the raised hand icon to indicate they wish to speak, and only speak when requested to by the chair. Once you finish speaking, please can you lower your hand. To vote on the items, the chair will ask myself as Democratic Services Officer to go through each member alphabetically. Each member will reply with their name and I vote for, against or abstain. For item 3 on today's agenda, the chair will move the meeting into private session and the live stream will be stopped. I will now formally hand you over to the chair to start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Chief Officers Employment Panel on Monday, the 13th of July, 2020. Turning straight away to the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
We don't have any apologies, Chair.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2, permanent appointment of Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service, which you'll find on pages 3 to 14 on your agenda. And I'm handing over now to Councillor Mike Johnson to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee may recall that at full council meeting on the 11th of December 2019, a decision to appoint Andrew Seekins as Interim Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service from the 12th of December to the 31st of December 2020. This appointment was made on the basis that a number of objectives were achieved. I'm delighted to report following the performance appraisal with Andrew on the 23rd of June 2020, all of the initial objectives had been achieved. Andrew has managed to undertake this at the same time as managing the organisation through the COVID-19 pandemic. He has clearly demonstrated that he is an exceptional leader for the staff team at Allerdale. I have every faith in Andrew that he can deliver our ambitious 10-year council strategy and ensure that this council is meeting our mission of improving lives and improving futures through sustainable action. We are in the midst of a period of great change for the country and for this council. there will be many changes to come and many opportunities to ensure that we are able to fulfil our pledges to create thriving towns, villages, and resilient communities. Andrew's experience in these areas in particular will be vital to our success over the coming years. I have no hesitation in asking this panel to recommend that Council confirms Andrew's permanent employment as Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service of Allerdale Borough Council. I would therefore like to formally move that this panel will recommend to Council to appoint the Director, Andrew Seekins, as Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service with effect from the 22nd of July 2020, approve the amendments to the pay policy statement attached as Appendix 1, and to delegate authority to Human Resources Manager to take any further action necessary to give effect to the contents of this report. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I see Councillor Smith, you have your hand up. Is this to second the motion or to start the discussion?
Formally second the motion, Chair. I think everything what Mike's outlined up in his preamble there is absolutely correct, and it gives me no hesitation in seconding the motion on the table. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further questions or points of discussion on this subject? Councillor Coburn, thank you.
Councillor Coburn, you're on mute.
Thank you. Now, I'm just a bit confused as to why a new appointment's being put at the top of the pay scale. Normally, new appointments start at the bottom. That it just leaves nowhere to go and there's no incentive. So as I said, I'm surprised at that. And also, consistency is measured over time, and you've shortened the time limit to what was agreed in the full council meeting. So I'm surprised at that as well. So I don't really agree with this. I think we should have stuck with the original decision that was made at full council in December. Thank you.
Councillor Kemp, please.
Councillor Kemp, you're still on mute. No.
Hello?
We can hear you now, Councillor Kemp.
Can you hear me now? Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes, we
Hello?
can. Yes, we can hear you, George.
Okay. I would really like to reiterate Councillor Coburn's message there. You know, I think it's during these really financial trying times, I think it's a bit disappointing what the general public will feel about our chief executive going right to the top of his pay scale when he hasn't even finished his trial interim period. You know, I think we're sending the wrong message out to the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. I think we have an officer wishing to come in here. Catherine Higgins, please.
Sorry about that. I would just like to say in regards to the pay scale, normally the Chief Executive's pay scale is just a one-off pay scale. This 3-increment pay scale was introduced at the appointment of Andrew Seekins as the interim Chief Executive. So therefore, normally if we were just gone straight to an appointment of the Chief Executive, there would have just been one pay scale to appoint them on.
Councillor Coburn, please.
Yes, but what you're saying is normally there's just one pay scale, but here we've got incremental one, and to go to the top of the incremental one is still a surprise. I still disagree with this, and I agree with Councillor Kemp. In these trying times when people are struggling, it's sending out a very strange message.
Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Question for Catherine Higgins. I just didn't pick up there what you said about the pay grade, Catherine. Did you say that that is on the pay grade now, on the top of the scale, or is on number 2?
Is currently on the bottom of the pay scale, and also he has achieved all the objectives that were set for him.
So the only thing what he hasn't achieved is the 12 months.
Yeah, he achieved that with you know, he has achieved his objectives, you know, well before the 12 months, and obviously dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So
with this borough, as along with other boroughs in the county and in the country, we need a leadership at the top of the pay scale. I have no plan whatsoever that Andrew Seekins is worth every penny of the top grade, and it isn't as though he's just started here. He's been here for the past 6 years. He's stepped into the role for the past 7, 8 months. I can't see a matter of 4 months being a big obstacle. As far as the pay grade goes, he is very eloquent with the role of the chief executive. Having done extremely a lot of work for the previous one as well. So I've had no qualms. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'll just like to say something myself now, and then I'll return to Councillor Coburn and then to Councillor Johnson as the mover of the motion, who may wish to come back on some of these comments. Yes, it isn't, we're in a situation here, aren't we, where it's not as if the person concerned is a stranger to the council. He's worked with us for many years. And as Catherine has pointed out there, the objectives have in fact been achieved early, and not only that, they've been achieved in the face of a crisis which the whole country has had to face. And I think that Andrew and indeed the majority of the staff at Allerdale under his leadership have behaved in exemplary fashion during the pandemic and kept us all very well informed of the council's activities and all the support that's available. So I just think we need to see it in that context, in that this is not a person who's a stranger to the council by any means at all. Okay, Councillor Coburn, please.
Yes, it's. I'm not disputing what Mr. Seekins has done, but COVID isn't over, and consistency is measured over time. And that's why originally it was a 12-month interim appointment. And I think that we should stick with that. And I still think that we're sending a very, very strange message out to the public at the moment.
Well, the objectives have been achieved early. Councillor Johnson, would you like to come back on that, please?
Thank you, Marion. Yeah, I would just like to say that Andrew Seekins has demonstrated he's got exceptional leadership skills through what he's dealt with in achieving his objectives that we set for him when he got his temporary position. And given that he's achieved those well within the 12-month time frame that it was originally set, there's no reason why we wouldn't accelerate his permanent appointment to now, given what he's achieved, what he's also had to deal with in addition to that, which is a COVID-19 pandemic outbreak throughout the whole of the country, and again has demonstrated exceptional leadership. If we were to go externally, we would have to start looking to recruit now. And in this current situation, do we really think that there's an abundance of chief executives out there looking to move? I would suggest not. But that aside, we've got a great chief executive in Andrew Seekins, and if we were to appoint externally, if Andrew was coming to us externally, he would be going straight to the top of the pay grade. There's no reason why he shouldn't go straight to the pay grade now.
Councillor Coburn.
I don't understand why you're saying if we go externally. I mean, my argument is that we should still stick with the what was agreed at full council in December, simply because consistency is measured over time. The pandemic isn't over, and he says achieved all the objectives. I haven't got a list of what those objectives are, so I can't say whether or not they've been achieved.
Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think the deputy leader mentioned there something about stability in the borough, which was my opening gambit on this debate. Stability, we need stability. Like Councillor Jones mentioned there, if you have to go externally, you're talking 6 months without anybody in charge of this council. We need stability. This borough has had no political leadership for the past 12 months. We need stability from the chief executive and from the councillors. We should be all batting on the same wicket here. Get this borough back as it should be. Get the best people in place and move forward. Not bickering about £3 grand. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Johnson, you have your hand up. Did you want to come back?
Yes, thank you, Marion. Again, I would just like to move this motion now. Thank you.
Chair, if I could just clarify, the motion was moved and it was seconded by Councillor Smith.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, probably is also worth mentioning at this stage that the objectives have been kept monitored via meetings with the executive and the deputy leader. I think we'll now move to the vote. So if I can bring Democratic Services back in here, please.
Thank you, Chair. Before I do that, Lindsay, are you happy with the motion and it's understood and we can continue with the vote?
Absolutely. Thankfully, yes, it was moved and it was seconded, and I think all members are clear of what they're voting on. Thank you.
Thank you. So as previously instructed members, I'll go around the room alphabetically, and if you can just indicate, just say your full name, whether you vote for, against or abstain. We'll start with Councillor Coburn.
Councillor Nikki Coburn, I vote against simply because consistency is measured over time.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Councillor Marion Fitzgerald, I vote in favour of this motion on the basis that the objectives set for Andrew Seekins have been achieved early. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Councillor Mike Johnson, Deputy Leader, I vote for.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Councillor Kemp, you're still muted. That's fine.
Okay. Councillor George Kemp, vote against this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Councillor Alan Smith, for.
Thank you. Chair, we have 3 votes in favour and 2 against. Thank you.
In that case, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Before moving on to the next item on the agenda, I move that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they may involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 5 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act.